Necrodominance Mill. Yeah, I don't think I need to say anything else in the intro, right? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today, Stone Age Dude Man has given me a really neat idea. To play Necrodominance alongside mill cards. So with Necrodominance, you can draw a very large number of cards, right? Well, what if when you drew cards, your opponent milled cards? So let's live in Magical Christmas Land for a moment, shall we? So you resolve a Necrodominance and a Sphinx's Tutelage in some order. You go and you pay, Magical Christmas Land 19 life to go and draw 19 cards with Necrodominance. Your opponent, at a minimum, will mill 19 times 2 cards, that's 38 cards, and some number of those cards will probably share a color, meaning that you repeat that process. So that is maybe not deterministic, but is probably an A plus B combo that wins the game. So let's take a look at their deck list. And I've done a little polishing up here for some reasons that I'll get into in a second, but I think the idea is good. By that, I mean not competitive, but I think the core concept is pretty cool. So Sphinx's Tutelage and Teferi's Tutelage basically do the same thing. There's some slight differences and nuance there. But generally speaking, one of those plus a Necrodominance and a decent life total should be a way to burn our opponent out of the game via mill. And we have some of the usual suspects for mill here, like the Archive, Traps, and the 8 Crabs. The donor wasn't really sure whether or not we should still focus on some of the stuff like Ruin Crab, Hedron Crab, and Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Because if you're trying to be an A plus B combo deck, do you just want to go all in on like tutors and acceleration for that and try to assemble that every game? Or do you want to be able to play a reasonable game without them? And I think you want to present stuff in the early game that your opponent has to answer, like these crabs, the Tashas, which can mill an absolutely insane amount, by the way. And this is exile for what it is worth, rather than traditional milling. So I think you want to have kind of this 16 card package here that serves as the threats that your opponent has to start to think about from the beginning of the game, so that this stuff resolves later on in the game. One of the things that I added to the deck that was not in Stone Age Dude Man's original deck list was Brainstorm. Brainstorm, good magic card. I don't think I have to defend that on this channel. If you're here, you've probably watched enough Legacy to know that. But with Sphinx's Tutelage, Brainstorm, in addition to being Brainstorm, is also a mill at least 6. And that's pretty good value. So if you haven't seen a lot of mill decks before, Scheming Symmetry is something that is interesting here. It is a top of library tutor for both players, but if you can then just Hedron Crab or Ruin Crab mill your opponent's card, they don't get their card, and you get to tutor for your missing combo piece or critical card. And it is also a way to force your opponent to search if you need to turn on Archive Trap, which we can also do with a Field of Ruin. In the original deck list, Force of Will was in the main deck, but as I was kind of trying to make the numbers work here, I was realizing that Force of Will was kind of constraining me, and it can be kind of neat with Necrodominance, but I cut it from the main deck, and a lot of my sideboard is just like catch-all versus combo stuff, and we kind of hope to play against more fair decks that give us a little bit more time. The rest of the sideboard here is dedicated towards beating artifact decks. I'm down to relatively few basic lands for the purposes of Field of Ruin. Necrodominance requires black, 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 meaning I want a lot of like Underground Seas and other dual lands here. So I'm trying to get away with 2 islands which may mean at some point in this league I don't actually fetch a land out with Field of Ruin, which is a little awkward. But I think I'm gonna greed it up though. So we have a little bit of removal / counterspell action in the main deck, and we have a Miser's Surgical Extraction. The reason being, if we run into an Eldrazi matchup of some kind where our opponent has some creature where if it's put into the graveyard, they end up shuffling it or their entire graveyard back into their library, I want to have an out to that. Tasha's could randomly spike it and exile it, and that's all fine and good, but I think having one surgical as a way to stop that and to potentially hedge against, another combo deck by, I milled one of your critical combo cards. Oh, there they go. They have all been surgicaled. I think that's perfectly fine. Let's do one baby adjustment real quick. Let's go up a couple surgical extractions here for that same interaction. I'm going to keep the Miser's Leyline for good luck. And because honestly, I just want one more piece of Graveyard Hate. I want access to 5 in the current metagame. Yeah, so with that being said, here's Necro Mill. I hope it goes well. This is a league that I expect to be a lot of fun when things go my way. And we'll see how it is when things aren't going my way. Folks, should you need some Magic cards, we're constantly in preview season, spoiler season, so I bet you probably will. Check out toamagic.com. They have an absolute ton of stuff in stock at any given time. You get free shipping on every online order, and if you use promo code ThrabenU, you'll save 5% on top of that. So, great deal. Let's go battle. All right. Crabs intensify. Let's do it. All right. I never checked to see if I could turn off that new animation. I will check in between games. This may just be the future. Don't lightning bolt my crab. It has so much to live for. Okay, great. That DRC is going to be big quickly. However, this will also turn into ancestral quickly, so we've got that going for us. Let's go. Crab. Target player. Psychic Frogs. You got it. Let's just... This is 20 cards? 20 cards. Let's just Fatal Push before I use the fetch land. Because I would prefer to just use Undercity Sewers to select for my next draw, but I need this available to pay for days. Should the need arise. What did Force pitch? A Brainstorm. Yeah, you got it. So, to guarantee value for my Hedron Crab, I'm going to go ahead and fetch right now. But it sure does make Murktide Regent better if my opponent is playing that. There is some tension between like Psychic Frog and Murktide. Brainstorm is significantly better than a land. I'm not quite ready for a Necro. Not quite ready for a Visions. I will go ahead and leave that on top. No attack with the crab. This is a 3/3 now, unfortunately. The good news is that my opponent surveilling cards and casting cantrips and whatnot will put them just closer and closer to death via mill. Wasteland's fine. No! My crab had so much to live for. It's down. I imagine that I'm just going to lose this wasteland. Or sorry, lose probably the sewers to wasteland. 16. I lost the Underground Sea instead, sure. So my opponent draws. I am going to cast a Dazable... No, this card's important. I will make my land drop. And then cast this. Crab? I'm not ready for that. There's 13 cards over there. I like the other cards better than Visions, unfortunately. So let's fetch. I'll get a new Underground Sea. And we will play a Ruin Crab. I am not sure of the math on Tasha's, because it's going to vary from deck to deck. Like, there's like Force of Wills and Force of Negations and stuff that kind of skew the numbers here. Okay. What do you have against crabs? Asking for a friend. It's me. I'm the friend of the crabs. I go to 12. This is some sicko shit right here. Here we go. 40 cards in deck currently. So that was a mill 11. We'll take it. Oh, we hit 2 Murktides. Yeah, 11 was lower than I was expecting. Do it again next turn. My cats are doing crimes in the living room and I have my door open. So if you hear them, you know, don't call the cops. They're very cute. Would not survive in prison. We've got a brainstorm. And I guess at this point my opponent is incentivized to not surveil unnecessary cards into the graveyard. They probably clock me faster than I clock them, but it's not a guaranteed thing here. If I'm getting hit for 3, I'm at 9. And we'll see if another creature comes down. So I'm on a 2-turn clock, 1-turn clock if Lightning Bolt gets involved. So, is Sphinx's Tutelage a live or dead card here? Probably dead. I think I'm hoping to spike another Tasha's next turn. So let's go ahead and Tasha's again. That was 20 cards this time. Let's try to find another Tasha's. That is a land. That'll go to graveyard. So this game fully might come down to how good my next top deck is. I am at 3. My opponent could also have the 4th Lightning Bolt. I haven't seen the 4th bolt yet. Yeah, there it is. That was damn close, folks. That was damn close. Yeah, my last minute shift to Leyline over Surgical is certainly awkward in this matchup where I very much would prefer Leyline. My 3-drops are also very slow here and my life total is under duress, so that just is what it is. I think we are largely running back the same overall plan. Crabs. Keep. So, do I get a basic here when I have 1 Field of Ruin in hand already? I think so. I think I don't want to be wastelanded early on in this game. It's a little awkward. I wonder if I actually need to think about which crab I play out first because of Unholy Heat. I am going to play a Dazable Crab in hopes of optimizing my mill via these crabs. Now I'll grab an Underground Sea. Crabs, please. And attempt to Fatal Push the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Fantastic. Attack for 0. Dominance asserted. Opponent says, I see we are sending a message. Oh no, my crabs. Don't do it again. Oh my god. What a crab killer. It's a Pyroblast. Killed my crabs with fire. Just not okay. We can stick a persistent but slow source of mill here. Mana is not perfect towards going towards Necrodominance, but, it is not that far off. I am going to get rid of the Fatal Push and try to keep the dream alive here. Oh, man. We could realistically do it. We could do the thing in round 1 of this video. I didn't put a basic swamp in the deck. My avarice. Coming back to bite me. Or maybe it's the opposite of avarice, I don't know. That is a thick Murktide Regent. That's a 3-turn clock on its own. Crab. So, play Crab. Landfall Crab. Fetch. I am thinking about whether I Underground Sea to activate Field of Ruin, or whether I just Sewers to look for an untapped black land to get Necro next turn. I think I'm an Underground Sea. But it's pretty close. And I guess with that trigger on the stack, let's junk one of your lands. Get basic island. Alright. So there's mill 6. We are in range of a Tasha's as a top deck, potentially just killing my opponent as well here. But this is definitely scary. That is unfortunately a Pyroblast on my Teferi's Tutelage. We are staying in fair mill territory, unfortunately. Well, that can potentially kill Murktide Regent. I think I'm going to do it now so my opponent can't brainstorm into a Pyroblast. Alright, send it. Can we drown the Murktide Regent? Oh, we can. No attacks this time. We've already sent the message. The opponent has no black mana for something like a Psychic Frog, so I guess that's good for us. However, this follow-up Murktide Regent, probably not so much good for me. Yep. That's another 8/8. It doesn't kill me in one turn. It technically takes 2 turns, but this is pretty bad. Fetch land also no longer alive for Necro. Tasha's. Oh shit, let's go. Tasha. MVP Witch. 22 cards down to 8 cards. This is winnable, but it's absolutely sweaty. Yeah, the Tasha's is a really high variance card in these blue matchups because, like, it's lands and 1s or 5s and 7s. Down to 1. Don't do it. Okay, good. Still alive. Tasha is off the top. Yes, okay. This is a draw 3. There's 22 over here. Yep. Here we go. Opponent needs a counterspell or this should be a win. Come on. Come on. No! I cannot pay, unfortunately. So unless my opponent randomly searches and puts a brainstorm on the stack or something, we are dead. I accept my fate to the Noble Dragon. GG's, that was really fun. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out. Alright, I'm keeping my opening hand. We have plenty of crabs here to get us going. Oh yes, a fetch land, you say? Would be a shame if that somehow backfired. We're gonna play Ruin Crab first, because it foretells our opponent's ruin. And pass the turn. I absolutely forgot to check and see if I could change the thing. Archive Trap you. Fuck yeah. We did put a troll into their graveyard, though. Yeah, they were searching anyway. There's an Atraxa. Wasteland's not great for me. Atraxa also not great, obviously. The rest of those cards go on the bottom of the library. Well, those are some good cards. I'm just going to be on a 3-turn clock as of turn 2. My opponent gets 2 reanimation spells. Seems good, and they can just discard the Archon to hand size. That's some shit. I'm sitting here thinking about like Scheming Symmetry and Archive Trap. I think I'm discarding this. Just trying to kill next turn. So mill 3, fetch. Needs to be Underground Sea. Mill 3. Play a new crab. Crab's in play. Pass the turn. So I have 6 for landfall covered, plus another 13 covered. I am going to need more than that. Oh no, I guess I don't have that much covered because I'm about to lose one of these. Yeah. I sacrifice a crab. I discard a card. I get whacked for 7. And this is just lethal. I think I need Archive Trap as the draw. That's not going to do it. So I can force a search, mill 13, die. I needed another turn or so. So I think I am going to ignore the fair creatures here and try to stop the unfair ones from happening. Do I win the Force of Wills battles? I probably don't. Let's try that. This is leaving me weaker to Psychic Frog than I would like to be. I think I'm just going to deal with that. Okay, we have sort of a middling hand here, but, you know, with access to Crab and basically infinite lands, I don't think I'm throwing it back. We just kind of hope that Brainstorm fixes things a bit. We're chilling. Surgical is fantastic here. I think I am into Dazable Brainstorm. I am nowhere near ready for that. I think I'm just going to put that back, put Underground Sea back, do this. Have my opponent mill. Did not hit a giant creature, so that's good. Pass turn. No attack. There's a brainstorm from my opponent. That is fine. Fetch land is great for me for the purposes of Archive Trap. There is the Psychic Frog. End of turn, we get free Archive Trap. No giant creature in graveyard, although reanimates on Psychic Frog are online. We'll Undercity Sewers. Continue to mill my opponent here. Delta is good with Crab, but I have land drops forever, so I'm just going to say no to that. All right, not a giant monster. So given that I am about to cast kind of a critical Haymaker spell, I don't hate Force of Will to look at the hand and see if there's like days, or I don't hate Surgical on Force of Will. I think that is worth 2 life to me. Douthie Voidwalkers and Reanimate. Sure. So there is a single daze left in the deck, so my opponent's spells, so my spells are just basically resolving. That's fantastic. I will play Field of Ruin. Have you mill 3. Ooh. That's sort of interesting. So now all Tasha's. There's a shit ton of stuff in exile. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards off that. I could Surgical to take 2 Douthie Voidwalkers out of hand, but then my opponent just reanimates the Troll. I think I am just passing the turn here. Yeah, I will take a point of combat damage, and you may mill 1. You mill it to your hand, which is, like, kind of weird, but it's whatever. That is a grief. I'll respond to that. That's a little awkward. So I will be at 14 after casting Surgical Extraction. If I target Douthie, my opponent just discards them to Psychic Frog. So I guess I just target the Troll. So my opponent can't efficiently use... I could actually target the Reanimate here. Let's do that. Yeah, that's fine. Then my opponent just has to use their mana on Douthie. Take Reanimate, Reanimate, Reanimate. I am going to get Wastelanded. That's fine. I guess I could have done math on Tasha's if I top deck another one, but, you know, I'm just going to cast it, so, you know. And there is the Douthie Voidwalker. You can Wasteland my Field of Ruin. That leaves me with the Obero for... Oh, lol. Yeah, so Field of Ruin, you mill. I will go ahead and take out your Underground Sea. Get my island. They fail to find. I mill. Opponent has 8 cards left. I have 3 per turn with Obero and Crab. Psychic Frog and Douthie Voidwalker is a theoretical 2-turn clock, though, if my opponent just dumps all of their cards into Psychic Frog, right? I get hit for 7 this turn, 7 next turn. I can chump block next turn. So no blocks. Yeah, and here we are going to see probably everything going in on Psychic Frog. I guess my opponent can make Psychic Frog fly next turn. So I will Scheming Symmetry on both of us. Yeah, and opponent just realized that they could have countered scheming, or could have countered Surgical Extraction with Frog, and they are right. I'll put a Tasha's on top, but I believe that I am dead on board. Like, as long as my opponent sees that they give Frog flying, they've got it. 2 cards. Yeah, there's the flying. So I am dead in the air, just, you know, 1 singular draw step away from victory. Ooh, we are starting things off with a Cavern of Souls on Eldrazi. This is why we have a main deck Surgical Extraction. So my opponent is unlikely to naturally search their deck with Archive Trap until very late in the game, so we will want this Field of Ruin to do some work. I would also like to just find another blue land to get more crabs into play. We've got Eye of Ugin. So a 3-mana Eldrazi can come out here, and we have a good 3-mana Eldrazi. Scheming Symmetry. That lets me do neat things with Archive Trap. I don't think we're there yet. Like, if I did it right now, I would probably just be thinking about getting a fetch land. Oh, Wasteland on Underground Sea is horrific for me. Although my opponent could attack Field of Ruin, or honestly just cast a large creature of their own. So that is an It That Heralds the End for 1 mana. And I'm going to start taking ping damage from the Fleshraker. The It That Heralds the End is going to turn these into creatures that have power and toughness as well. There is a Spirit Guide, so we've got a Thought-Knot Seer. So I take some more ping damage here. And note that my opponent does just have 4 mana. If they have another Thought-Knot Seer, they could cast it after this. I've lost my Archive Trap. Oh god, there is going to be more. That is a Chalice of the Void on 1, bricking the entire rest of my hand. What an absolutely savage turn. My opponent did 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana worth of stuff on turn 3 due to Eye of Ugin and the Fleshraker. That's one of the better Fleshraker turns I've ever seen. All of my cards are bricked. My opponent has infinite power in play. We're donezo. Next game. 21 1-drops for Chalice. Fuck, that ain't great. So my opponent's deck looks like it's relatively low to the ground. I'm going to hope they don't have a big Eldrazi. I think my life total is under enough pressure where I can't do this. I think those become Force of Wills, and then these cards aren't great without the proper support. I think I make myself worse against Chalice and board in Thoughtseize and 1 Hercules. The Hercules doesn't feel good. Absolutely not. Second hand's fine. I think I have to get rid of the Fatal Push and keep the Force of Will. I'm very, very soft to an opposing Chalice of the Void. I'm hoping kind of not to use the Force of Will. This staying in play is probably like a mill 12. I'm going to very reluctantly do that. So we will crab and then do this thing. These triggers keep going under each other. Save targets, always yield. Always yield. Let's surveil. Force of Will, now I don't want that one. So we junked a bunch of land there. Could see Thought-Knot Seer come down immediately. Could see Fleshraker or Chalice come down. It is Fleshraker. So this is a lot of cards. I will go ahead and cast this. Put back you and you. Land drop, do this whole thing. This is on cast, so I probably want to go ahead and kill this now. Take Sewers to surveil. Let's see what we've got. A new Fatal Push. I'm just going to say no to that. I think that's worse than something like a land. And let's take out that Eldrazi. So we are past the halfway mark, although I don't know for sure whether or not my opponent has a Shuffle Eldrazi in their deck. They are playing Disruptor Flute. Feels like this is a Kozilek's command because it's taking a while. Alright, so they junk my creature and make some Eldrazi spawns. I get to select for a new spell. Field of Ruin seems sweet here. Bam, bam. Play Field of Ruin, mill some cards. I think take out Eldrazi Temple so that City of Traders disappears if my opponent plays a new land. So, bam. There's a basic forest that I milled. Alright, yeah, there is not another basic. Oh, that's alternate art for sowing Mycospawn. Cool. So we're like 2/3 of the way there. Okay, we have caused them to lose the City of Traders. That's great. Eye of Ugin could make for a very explosive turn, though, with a couple of Eldrazi spawns in play already. Yeah, that's tough. So It That Heralds the End means that these little spawns, in addition to just doing damage to my face, can now also attack. Crab can block them, I guess. But my opponent can pretty easily go wide of what I am currently doing. We need to maybe revisit Eldrazi for the channel, like an Eldrazi aggro deck. What my opponent is cooking with over there seems pretty decent. Uh-oh, there's more. My opponent is just doing this to put a better body into play, and it also pings me for 2. Seems good. I'll be at 13. My opponent started this turn with, I believe, 2 Eldrazi spawns. Just throwing it out there, and 1 land. Oh god, they're not done. Stop it. I have a family. I'll be at 11 when this all clears the stack. So I think I'm going to go from damn near full health to just dead in 1 turn, right? I'm at 11. I chump block a Thought-Knots here. I take 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. I am still just dead. Absolutely disgusting. GG. Okay. This is a hand where we very much have a real chance at actually assembling our A plus B combo. Right? We have 2 defensive cards to get us through turns 1 and 2, and then I have turn 3 into turn 4 win. Oops, more Underground Seas. Let's fetch. Go ahead and surveil land here. That's an awkward one to show my opponent. That really only means one thing. Although it is possible that that just confuses my opponent more so than anything else. Do we see end of turn Entomb? We do not. We have an upkeep Entomb. I am going to just attempt to counter that, because then my opponent's cards are still on top for Brainstorm. Yeah, no, let's go for that. That was a Force of Will, unfortunately. It is a Grizzlebrand this time rather than the normal Atraxa. For sure. Yeah. My opponent gets to immediately refuel. Yeah. So much for my fun combo. Opponent takes my Necrodominance. There's a Grizzlebrand in play. That is incredibly difficult to answer. It is incredibly difficult to mill 41 cards before this Grizzlebrand kills me. And it's just going to be backed by a giant Grizzlebrand draw 7 in response to me actually doing anything impressive. I think we are effectively dead. Let's try to sculpt a plan to get out of this. I don't know that tapping out for Sphinx's Tutelage is going to work. Alright. I don't think this stuff is gonna do it. I should not have fetched immediately. Oh well, I did it. No, junk that. The reason I shouldn't fetch is Fatal Push for something like a Psychic Frog that is played out. Now it's dazeable, whereas it wasn't with the fetch land in play. But we're talking about optimizing lines in a game that I've already lost, so, you know, illusion of it mattering. Yeah. On a Grief, sure. Lose a Tasha's. Don't have Revolt for Fatal Push for the Grief. Gross. Have they seen Tasha's yet? I don't think I've shown them Tasha's yet. I'm going to go ahead and just concede. Alright, let's do some amount of this stuff. I think I am focusing on trying to stop their graveyard nonsense, making myself slightly worse against Psychic Frog. 3 outs to it. They become much better at stopping the graveyard nonsense. Maybe we do that. Keep a couple more outs to the frog. Okay. I don't want to get wastelanded immediately with this hand. So let's start here. Basic Swamp. Oh, joy, it is Grief Reanimate. Here to take my entire game plan. It's a shame there was no opportunity to just ban Grief from this format. With that, my hand is going to go from incredibly good to unplayable just instantly. Yeah. Oh, that's disappointing. Oh, they took my Brainstorm. Sure. That's quite good. So mill 3. We put a fatty in the graveyard. That's unfortunate. Have to get Underground Sea here. Mill 3. So I can now attempt to take out the Grief. And my opponent can reanimate it again and take my Tasha's now. Okay. That's not reanimate. That's also not reanimate. That's just passing the turn. So I do not have 3 mana to start casting my other cool cards here. But My opponent is not beating me to death yet, so I do have that going for me. Douthie Voidwalker, sure. That gets through my crabs. I have no castable cards currently. Fetch land is such an insane draw. I'm also happy with my opponent drawing a fetch land. I'll take some damage. That is a Psychic Frog. You got it. Fatal Push isn't bad. Do it now? I think do it now. Alright, great. Pass turn. Got 13 cards queued up with Archive Trap. But I'm taking a beating in the meantime. Alright. We're waiting. Yeah, you can search. Go for it. Leyline is a bad draw. I have to do this now. While my opponent has still done their thing. We didn't put anything super crazy in there. I'm passing the turn. Sort of a shame this wasn't a surgical instead. That is just a 3-power flyer. I am on a 2-turn clock. Yeah, I am unfortunately just going to die with all these sweet cards in my hand. Let's shoot the Sheriff. Destroy non-outlaw creature, sure. Alright, I get hit for 6. I am at 6. And all of these 3-drops are uncastable. This is an 0-4. We are getting our ass kicked. We have put no game wins on the board even. Let's play out the last round and see if we can do something. If I keep this hand, I will be bad against Wasteland. Every one of these crabs represents a very large amount of mill. I have some creature-based interaction. I don't think the hand is perfect. I am going to keep it, assuming that within about 3 draw steps, I will hit another land and kind of pop off. Oh, it's another fucking Polluted Delta attack. Just cast your fucking grief. Sure. At end step, I will go ahead and Archive Trap, and we'll let the cat out of the bag. I guess I can consider Archive Trapping after I pollute. No. No, this is fine. This forces the Ponder decision to be made. If they kept some cards on top that they wanted, it is a daze, unfortunately. So, we're gonna... wrong color. We're gonna play a crab. And that is a Force of Will pitching Sink into Stupor, which is one of the MDFC's modal double-faced cards. Alright, great. Surgical Extraction. Assuming my opponent is on some graveyard-based nonsense, that's a nice safety net. I've missed my land drop. That's okay. I think it starts to not be okay if I miss it the following turn. That is a Psychic Frog. I have Fatal Push for that. Yeah. I'm thinking about Surgical on Force of Will here, because answering this Psychic Frog is incredibly important. I'm not going to do that, because I still need to not lose to the Reanimator side of the deck if my opponent just discards a card in response to this and has Animate Dead or Reanimate. Hot damn, it just worked. Oh wow, it's Prismatic Vista. Ah, okay. This is slightly different than what I was expecting. Sure. So I can drown in the lock the first ninja that my opponent plays, assuming that I hit a land drop. The opponent just fetching now so they don't have to deal with my nonsense later. Hey. I believe it is correct to do this, rather than hold up drown in the lock. Let the record show that I have thought about it. So now, land drop. Yeah, the triggers keep going under each other. I'll save targets and always yield on both of these. Then I will play a new crab here. I could surgically extract the Infiltrator in my opponent's draw step. I don't hate it. Yeah, I don't hate it. Because I don't want my opponent getting like that or Yuriko going. It was the other one. So there aren't that many of those. There were more Yurikos here. Maxing out on Psychic Frogs. Okay. We lost the 50-50 there. Or more accurately, now we know it wasn't a 50-50. So my opponent bounces that, and now gets to do the Yuriko thing twice. Ow. What did that just reveal? Oh, that sucks. Now I can't even, like, easily answer Yuriko. There's a mill 6. I guess I'm passing the turn here. I think I need to use Drown in the Lock. Can't block, can't block, can't block. This investigates. That's fine. I'm thinking about if I want to drown in the lock this so it doesn't trigger Yuriko, or if I want to like do Yuriko, force my opponent to use their mana. This is not a draw. Yeah, this is not a draw. Yeah, with the second Yuriko here, I think I am just taking out this changeling. Yeah, that's just very awkward. So at this point, no blocks on the 2/0/0s. So my opponent is going to put in a new Yuriko, legend rule the old one, to get a Yuriko trigger out of this turn. They just get a land. So I'm going to lose a crab of my opponent's choice to Fatal Push. I think it's just better to hit a Ruin Crab. And they do. Sure. That's all fine. The Sphinx's tutelages are now honestly just too slow. Rough. The Yuriko currently is not getting through. My opponent can do some clue token stuff. That is a forced flip. So the backside of Tamiyo is not particularly strong. My opponent can like return an instant or sorcery card. That's kind of whatever. I will Fatal Push this frog. The tutelage here, not particularly good. So I am probably looking to just draw Tasha's and win the game with the Tasha's. Ponder does not shuffle. I think my opponent should minus on Fatal Push and take out my other Ruin Crab, which they do. I'm not taking damage, which is great. Sphinx's Tutelage Brainstorm is something that I like very specifically put together. So that's nice. Hopefully I don't get Bowmastered next turn. Fuck days. The general blue-black shell in Legacy is so good right now. Every time the blue decks get some source of card advantage at 2 mana that is just like a tiny bit too good, the decks start to feel very good. And I'm not saying like Ninjas is over the top here, but this is just coming after a league of getting bodied by blue-black decks, and also that one Eldrazi deck. Doesn't feel great. I will block the Yuriko. Show me your Bowmaster. Show me the Bowmaster that is going to wreck my Brainstorm that's in hand. Alright. You got it. So I lose my Crab. I need to draw Tasha's, and I need to get lucky from there. That's not castable. 1, 2. I'm, I guess, only taking 3 damage. I think it is more important to cast this Brainstorm than anything else. That is not going to result in me being able to win versus the board. That's brutal. Well, that game started out relatively well and then just fell apart. Do I play the one of Leyline so that if it's in my opener, it's good? I don't think so. I think I'm going to play like one Thoughtseize to just kind of check and see if my spells resolve. I could also see an argument for boarding out some of the Necrodominance stuff, but I have not even been able to attempt to do the thing in this entire league. I've just died so quickly, so let's try not to die. Well, I have the things, so I keep. The hand's a little awkward. Sometimes I want to play Fatal Push in this turn cycle, and that needs to be this land, but this land is much better to play later. Due to triggering crabs multiple times, so, you know, there's that. There's an Ornithopter. There's another Ornithopter. I think to use my mana, I am going to cast an end-of-turn Brainstorm, despite it not being the optimal Brainstorm. If I hit Archive Traps here, they are just quite good. Hey, it's Archive Trap. Back both the Sphinxes. Attempt to Archive Trap you. We get Force of Willed, pitching a Yuriko, so that's at least something. I'm not going to have Revolt for Fatal Push. I guess I could get Revolt. Oh man, both these lands are fucking not casting Necrodominance. Okay. Just noticed that part. God damn it. So that turns each one of these Thopters into 4/4s, meaning that I just need to Fatal Push one of these. That's not how I really wanted to use my resources, but it's happening. I know my next draw is the other Sphinx's Tutelage. I am going to get these down in hopes of pulling off my combo finish, but I'm going to just start getting hit in chunks of 4, meaning that I might not be able to Necro for all that much, and my opponent's a Bowmaster deck, so that's another problem. Because triggers are placed on the stack. Never mind. Sure. So there's replaying the land. The exact problem card that I was literally just talking about. Oh, also, it looks like my opponent boarded up cards. They have 55 cards left in deck. Cool. So I take 4, 5, 6 damage. I go to 8. I could Necro for 7. The following turn, my Sphinx's Tutelage triggers go on the stack, and then my opponent's Bowmaster's trigger goes on stack, so the Bowmaster kills me. The Necro is not good enough here. I can't just win with the triggers on the stack, because my opponent needs to draw a card, even if I get cute with Archive Traps. So I think this is a Hail Mary, draw another Tasha's, and the math, I think, doesn't work out on that. Yeah, that was only 13 cards. That's not going to do it. We're dead. GG's. Okay, well, I think we learned some things this league. Number 1, trying to win the game with cards that come down on turn 3 or later in the current format is not super viable. Everything is so low to the ground right now with Grief, Reanimate, Scam, Murktide Regents, Psychic Frogs, all that sort of stuff being kind of the defining stuff in the format. And those powerful plays are happening on turn 2. And my powerful plays are happening on turn 3. And my powerful combo is a turn 3 plus turn 4 combo. So if you want to try to build around a combo that looks like this, I think it needs to be a deck with a shit ton of artifact mana to try to do so sooner. Generally speaking, I think these 9 cards should just come out of the deck. We very nearly won a bunch of games via fair mill, and if these cards were maybe getting rid of these as well, if these 11 cards are just more things that look like this, I think we have a better chance at doing the thing. Praying Sanity is kind of like a combo card that just pays you off for paying any mill card. So at the beginning of each end step, enchanted player mills X cards, where X is the number of cards put in their graveyard from anywhere this turn. So if you archive trap, well, this like doubles your archive trap, and you can do that for free the same turn that this comes down in theory. So there's also, I think it's a blue card that I think mills just 14 or something like that. You can also play, I think there's a blue-black card, Glimpse the Unknown, something like that, that just mills 10. I think you can mess around with these slots and just build something that has a more realistic chance at milling your opponent out. Scheming Symmetry also just felt too slow for the current format. Like, we did turn it into a non-symmetrical tutor, but I think I died before I drew the card I got with Scheming Symmetry. It's also awkward wanting to play some basic lands for Field of Ruin while playing Necrodominance, which doesn't want you to have Basic Island and doesn't want you to have Field of Ruin because that does not cast it. You can try to like fix that problem with things like Urborg, but Urborg doesn't cast crabs. So I think trying to build this as a mill combo deck is fundamentally not going to work in the metagame as it exists now. Building it as a mill deck will probably be underpowered for the format standards, but we nearly put multiple game wins on the board. You know, we were just falling a little bit short. Maybe you can just kind of tune this up a little bit and make it into a proper mill deck. So Stone Age Dude Man. I failed at doing the thing, but hopefully we had some fun along the way and learned a lot. Regardless, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. You need cards, check out toamagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU to save you a little bit on your order when you do so. I'm going to go recover from that savage milling, or I guess lack of milling. See ya!